You would definitely make a splash. Yeah, when you're doing a cool down. So yeah, you can definitely make corrections. And you can also do this. I mean, definitely. You can also get that there might be directly. Or whenever it was.
Would that be able to be early? Yeah. That's what I want. I mean, we were.
Call this meeting to order at 4:03 p.m.
I want to be in.
I think.
Here.
Hannah, here. Caitlin, here. Askia. She's in the bathroom, but she's here. Joel.
Here.
Javier.
Here.
Ariana, here. Ume, here. Ian.
Here.
Megan, here. Tammy. Tammy? Benjamin?
Here.
Da Vinci?
Here.
Leandre?
Here.
Christopher Lee?
Here.
Christopher Blue?
Here.
Aaron? Aaron? Ethan? Leah? Here. Adrian? Here. Donna? Donna? I just saw it. Jason?
Here.
Nicholas?
Here.
Kate? Here. Matthew? Here. Daniela? Daniela? Jennifer? Here.
So we'll be moving on to the approval of minutes for October 11th. There are two corrections for this week's minutes. The first one is changing Tammy's and also Jason's roll call from absent to present, and also for the October 4th meeting, it will have to be changed. Tammy's attendance will have to be changed from absent to present. So could I get an approval for the minutes of October 11th, 2023 as corrected?
I move to. I second.
Moved by Jason, seconded by Javier. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, the minutes are approved. We'll be moving on to public comments. Are there any public comments today?
I have one for Lavo's News. So we went to the journalism municipal conference in San Francisco this past Saturday. Thank you guys for, I think DASG was really fun with 9 of our students going, which was really awesome. We were able to take home 27 awards for the past 3 quarters of our work, and then also a couple on the spot contests. So I just wanted to say thank you guys. It was a really great experience.
I just wanted to comment that even though it's not on the agenda today, please be thinking about the addition of another ES board position. In the future, I would really like to get this on the agenda. It's something that I think we should discuss as a Senate, and we should change for all years going forward. Yeah, I would just like to say every other committee aside from ES was like, although they were like smaller, they had at least 2 senators, at least. And I would say it's a real issue that there is only one for ES, especially the high volume of projects and the high number of interns assigned to just one senator. It's more than comparatively the other senators, so.
Just to briefly respond to that, I think if Asia, if you want to agendize that in programs, then I think that could be something we talk about like on the Senate level too.
We just need, if you're just talking about adding it to the programs committee, that would just be a programs committee, code change.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we were gonna talk about it at our meeting yesterday, but we ended up going overtime, so we tabled our code to next Tuesday, so, or the upcoming Tuesday, so we'll discuss it more in the committee there, and then, probably put on the agenda also.
Are there any other public comments? Benjamin?
So that's it. The end of Cuso has ended, but from 5 to 7 today, there is the end of Istahan. There's gonna be a bunch of high schoolers from San Jose coming in for the dances as well as karaoke and a pop-up. So please join.
Any other public comments? I just have a short public comment. Oh, Benjamin?
It's at conference room and
Transfer day is tomorrow in the main quad from 11 to 1. And there's also a HBCU caravan. I believe it's Thursday, November 2nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the main quad. Seeing no further public comments, we'll be moving on to advisor announcements.
I don't think I have any announcements at this time. Are there any,
No.
Phil or anyone else wants to know more.
Dana, would you have any advisor announcements?
Thank you. I do not.
Seeing no advisor announcements, we'll be moving on to Senate announcements. Are there any Senate announcements today? Asia?
So there's going to be a DASG spooky movie night event on October 26th. And so we're gonna have an official agenda item next week, but basically the idea is that the senators are gonna be like scaring people while we watch the movie. And so the meeting next week, our agenda item will hopefully just be about like instructions on like if someone has a glow stick, like don't scare them, how to like scare people without, you know, like whatever. So yeah.
Are there any other Senate announcements? Isa.
So, okay, the finance committee is asking for help from you guys. So basically, we have, so you guys know budget deliberations and all, so we sent out like the forms already for like programs to fill them out to request money from us. But we wanna be able to kind of like spread the word and make sure that programs actually know that they're out there and they're available. And so one of the ways that we thought would be great is if you guys like fellow senators and all in your shared governance meetings, in like maybe the public comments, just kind of announce that they're there. Like the budget request forms are available for people to fill out. Because I know that in shared governance committees, there's a lot of people that all are also like the head or like involved in programs as well, who usually sit on them. So I think it'd be a good way to kind of like spread the word without having to do anything crazy, like actually going to the offices or anything. So.
Where would we link to, like, do you have a link to the form you can post in this for share with us?
Oh, yeah, I think we, I can send the form because I think Dennis sent out an email, with the forms. I think I can send, a copy of the form to the chat and then you guys will also attach that as well.
Which one is it? What's the short one?
The, budget request form.
Yeah, we should have all received that email because it was sent to everyone on the Senate.
Yeah,
There's three different forms. So if this is for DSG. What is this for?
oh, this is for the, yeah, the forms that programs would use to request.
No, but who would be putting in the request?
Sorry,
Who is putting in the request?
the programs, right? So I'm just asking, kind of just to kind of like,
Oh,
Spread the word.
yeah, just, yeah,
Yeah.
use the email that I sent, use
Okay.
that to help spread the word. Because that has all the information. Because we need to make sure people, because there's different forms depending on where they are and so on, so.
yeah, and go ahead. Yeah.
Caitlin?
Alright, for marketing, we have our temporary senator interim hearings, and then we have an official form that's going to be sent through to match the intern to the respective area that you want to go. So for us, that's video editing, outreach, specifically like Canva flyers and Instagram posts. We have our DTA post almost already, it just needs to be approved and posted. We have a workshop Thursday for video editing for the prospective interns to learn how to use CapCut. And one thing is, please remember to get your marketing requests in on time.
Also, please include any like committee reports in the internal DASG committee reports. Are there any other like Adrian?
Yeah, I would just like to again remind everybody that we do have a VTA event coming up on the, what was it? The 26th in conference room A from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Please come be there, hear about like the VTA's plans for the future and sustainability. And with any luck, we can talk about getting Foothill DMs for established, but we still have to hear back for that.
Are there any other announcements? Hannah?
Yeah, so SRE met today and we
we're talking about resource fair and planning regarding resource fair. And we finalized the date and, like the venue as well, where we'll be living it, and we also, we also appointed, Senator Mentos to all of our.
Okay, thank you. Just to say again, for all executives, if you could include that information in your DHG committee reports, they're technically 2 cents, but thank you. Are there any other announcements? I think one thing to mention, if you are late for the roll call, if you could let them know so that you're not marked absent. And also check the minutes, like when they're sent out, to make sure that everything is correct on your part. So moving on to student trustee announcements.
Yeah, just as mentioned at this month's board meeting, this week is recognized as Undocumented Student Action Week, which recognizes the stories, struggles, and success of an estimated 100,000 students without legal status enrolled in California's public and independent colleges and universities. This week at the Anza, we had 2 events so far. HEFA's tabling an open house, which was so you can learn more about HEFA's. And today you can decorate butterflies that would go in the Newfront Museum exhibit called Facing Home. That's going to be tomorrow as well from 12 to 2. And then on Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. there's going to be an event called UndocuCon, Building a Brighter Future at Santa Clara University, where you can celebrate our Bay Area undocumented communities' diversity, resilience, and strengths, and highlight resources available to them, their families, and the community.
Thank you. Moving on to external shared governance reports. Ariana?
So Equity Action Council met today for the first time in the quarter. All attendees shared suggestions and ideas for a year. We also spoke about N4, the National Conference of Race and Ethnicity. It's taking place June of next year, but they mainly discussed how they will be receiving or where they will be getting the funding for classified staff and faculty to attend since the very expensive conference. And they also mentioned the possibility of bringing students along to this conference for the first time. They switched their meeting times to the first and third Wednesdays of the month. And they mentioned some events such as the transfer fair tomorrow, the Diwali Lights Festival on October 25th, the Dia de los Muertos event in the Newport Museum on November 1st, and the HBCU caravan is happening on November 2nd. So we should try to outreach as much as possible to Black communities.
Bridgie.
So campus facilities met on October 17th, so yesterday. We pretty much talked about like the Santa Clara Health Clinic update about how the medical office is being placed in parking lot B, and it might affect future flea markets, and it will also affect open parking on the weekends. They also talked about Measure G, the bond, and pretty much they asked for us to join their task force, pretty much gave them a main rundown on what Measure G is. And they also pretty much talked about how their plans to take down the front center and move the A-quad. And finally, they set up a energy and sustainability advisory committee. They pretty much stated their mission statement, promoting environmental sustainability on campus. And yeah, they'll communicate and disseminate reports and updates to respective constituency groups and community through board of trustees.
Leandre.
So Campus Center Advisory met on October 16th and talked about the Santa Clara County Health Clinic, and potentially offer primary and urgent care, dental, pharmacy, and radiology. We're planning to begin building in 2026 and end in 2027 or 2028. Still considering whether it will affect the free market or not, how will students interact with the building, and how it will affect confidence.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I was also we petitioned to expand the hours for dining services and for downstairs. Currently we have Monday to Wednesday open until 8 p.m. We're making it open until 9 p.m. like you were for last year, where the dining spaces up there, the tables again for the downstairs. Friday hours will close earlier. And yeah.
Oh, yeah, to add on to that, I think it's been approved that the campus center is open for 9 p.m. Until 9 p.m. for weekday.
Great.
I think Monday through Thursday, for Friday, I'm not sure.
Monday through Thursday, I think, the logs may not have been changed yet, but they're going to be changed so that it's, Monday through Thursday, 6:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then I think Friday, 6:30 AM to 4 PM.
Isaac,
Up to, so first of all, we're putting the committee met yesterday. And you basically continued for four different classes for review. So that's that. And then, there's also the TCA report from the particular office. Fun fact, pickleball is gonna be UC transferable, so that's that. Also, Measure G met last Friday and, basically President Lloyd and Vice Chancellor of Business Service, Susan Fu was there. And I am clearly to indicate that this is a draft and they are currently costing out the options. If you went on Discord, shared governance report, you'd see the details here. So basically, the task force was presented with three options that were going to be tossed out. The recommendation in the public meeting. And option two, which included reducing for a new building, as well as option three, which includes student service building and renovation. And the reason those plans are being proposed is because they're being thought out and figuring out how much those buildings would cost exactly. So that's that. Concerns brought up by the task force was that a lot of the members were concerned about option three and its potential effects. We're working on having some kind of like sub options to send to the president to see is there other ways that other options could be done to create options that are more aligned to the budget and all sorts of other questions. So yeah, if you have any questions, ask me or
any other shared governance report? Benjamin?
So, after that yesterday, and we discussed, that one, as well as we discussed evaluation action for reviewing all the programs and services on campus. And then we split into groups and then evaluated a specific group of them. And then District Budget Advisory Committee also met yesterday. We discussed the funding allocation trends of the higher education executive funds. And what the other Bianca has spent the whole amount, like around 65 million. We also talked about the allocation plans for the 5-year COVID block grant and the possibility that we could shift some of the funds to them.
Any other shared governance reports? I have a short shared governance report. Dining services request for proposal or RFP met on October 16th. They went over the timeline and process for the RFP, including desired and necessary factors, as well as information for selection that the contractor would have. Seeing no other shared governance reports, we'll be moving on to internal DASG committee report. Executives. Asia.
So in our programs meeting, we met yesterday and ICC presented the dance and homecoming event. So on November 17th is going to be the dance, and then on November 18th is gonna be like an event before the ball game against Foothill. And then we also talked about the DASG Spooky movie event happening October 26th. We also talked about like all the environmental sustainability updates we have, which is basically by winter quarter, they're trying to roll out the composting on campus, and in winter quarter, they'll also be planting the wildflower seeds. And then for the bike program, all e-bikes and regular bikes have been loaned out, which is great. And then we also talked about meeting weekly instead of bi-weekly, and yeah.
Isaac.
We talked about that.
Is that?
Finance met on this Monday. Yeah, as I talked about, we we talked about the budget request forms being available and how to market that. And then we also set tentative dates for budget consideration later in the year. So it's not like fully final, but we have dates blocked out already.
Caitlin.
I think I'm getting confused. Didn't I give my report earlier?
Yeah, that's what I was saying before, the Senate announcements.
Oh,
is,
okay.
Yeah, separate from the DASG committee. But. Joel,
I met today on Monday, really homecoming on November 17th at 9 p.m. in the homecoming game, festivities, on Saturday the day after. And then for clubs, we have PA hacks, which is this Friday and Saturday. And then we also have this traveling start on
moving on to the approval of the consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
You raise your hand next time. But
I move to approve the consent calendar.
moved by Javier, seconded by Adrian. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, the motion is passed. Moving on to the first business item. This is the Student Technology Focus Group with District ETS. So this item is a face-to-face focus group with ETS and members of ASFC to discuss students' technology needs, what is working well, and opportunities for improvement. This will be followed by open sessions with the general student body later in the academic year. And we have Jory, who is the Vice Chancellor of Technology, and also Justin, who is the Director of Operations.
Thank you so much. Great to be here with all of you today. First time being here with DASG, so I really want to thank you for spending some time. I'm Jory Hatzel. I'm your Vice Chancellor of Technology and CTO for the district. And Justin Schultz.
Justin Schultz, Director of Operations for the district. Yes, I'm perfect. Good to see you all.
So we are on a quest to hear the student voice in technology in our district. So we have a little bit of time with you today. There are a couple of specific topics I want to cover, but I would also just love to hear your feedback, your thoughts and your ideas on other ways that we could make your technology experience better on campus, whether it's in the classroom, whether that's in spaces like this or other places we are on campus. So I want to just start off though by thanking Lydia for having us here to be with you today. I want to recognize Caitlin, who, nice to see you in person, who serves as your rep on our district educational technology advisory committee. We had our first meeting last week. That was last week, right? I think it was last week. And then also thank Javier as our student rep on the board. Thanks for all of your support. So you may know, you do know, I'm sure, we have a new chancellor, and part of his mandate to all of us that serve on the executive leadership team is to help him in his first 90-day assessment of the district and our colleges. And so he's tasked me and President Holmes and the other Foothill president and the other vice chancellors with really pulling together a bunch of information to really help him understand the current state of all kinds of different things in our district, but also with respect to me to really do an assessment, provide him with an assessment of our current state of technology and where there might be places where we'll make changes or invest in technology for all of you, because it's really all about student learning and student success, and we really want to make sure you have the tools that you need to be successful. So that's kind of what kicked this off, although I will admit, before he asked that here in the last month or two, I had already been wanting to make some site visits, come talk to all of you, but also do some open sessions that are just open to any students on campus a couple times, at least a couple times a year, just to get that direct feedback. Because often what happens in my role with a staff who handles all the different technology components at the college and around the district is we think we know what you guys want, but we don't know, we're not always right. And so it's really important that we get that direct feedback from all of you. So hopefully, as we're talking today in the next few minutes, if there's something that's on your mind in terms of your technology experience or the students that you represent, we would just love to hear it, and just taking notes, and we want to follow up. I wanted to just start off though with a little bit of data, just to kind of help sort of frame the conversation for you. De Anza College did a student technology survey in 2020, which was actually like really interesting timing because it was right in the middle of when the pandemic was hitting and folks were in the like emergency remote learning space and dealing with all that. But the sort of highest needs that came out of that survey, and by the way, if you want to look at it, it's attached to the De Anza 2020 through 2024 technology plan. It's on the website. It's the appendix at the back of that. So if you're kind of interested, you can read that. Things that came out though 3 years ago. 3 years is a long time, right? Especially in technology. New or updated devices, right? Students didn't feel like, and this is just specifically the student feedback, didn't feel like they always had the devices that were as fast or as up to date. More or faster internet connectivity, right? These are not probably huge surprises to you. At the time, there was talk about equipment that was needed for remote learning. Things like webcams, headsets, all that, which I'm sure if you're in a remote environment, you can get. And then two, and I want to ask some specific questions on these, printing, ability to print on campus, or remotely, and then also Wi-Fi, which I'm sure no one has any thoughts on in terms of Wi-Fi. So those were the top needs that came through that survey. In addition, there was a question about student tech support. I'd like to get your take on that as well. And in 2020, the question was essentially for students, was technical support easy to find? Pretty simple question. 80% said yes, so that's good. 8 to 9% said somewhat, but 12% said no. And like when you look at the totality of that, you think, okay, 12%, but you know, you're close to 90%, that's like a B plus or A minus, right? We're rounding a little bit. But actually, I think that 12% really represents an equity issue for us. And so we want to know, how do we get that number to zero or as close to zero for students who think that it's hard to find technical support. So those are just a few of the things that I wanted to hopefully get your thoughts on. And so I really hope this could be dialogue. And also, if you're a little bit like me, I tend to process information and then come up with things after the fact. So I'll make sure you have my contact information as well if you have some thoughts after today that you'd like to share. Because we really value your feedback. So I guess I'll just kind of open up at first to see if there's any sort of burning technology issue that anybody would like to raise. Yes, I do see that.
First of all, Tori, I want to thank you for coming. I think in the 6 years I've been here, you're the first time we've had an ATS representative come to speak with our students. So I think it really says a lot about your leadership and wanting to connect with our students and really hearing what they would like to share with you. So I appreciate that. And I see that you're also doing some really fun, creative ways, even working with staff and faculty on trying to get us to watch those cybersecurity videos. So doing the scavenger hunt, and I was like, oh, that seems like fun. So anyway, I appreciate that kind of enthusiasm that you're bringing to us here today, but you know, to the district. One of the things I did want to share is when we were doing that first day of school, and we were doing the photo ID event in here. This is where our students come in because our office handles all the photo ID. The number one question, it wasn't about the photo ID, it was, I can't get connected. I don't know how, my phone, my laptop. So I share that because it has always been, I think, a consistent problem on our campus, like where to go for help, but just not having information maybe more accessible. I know it's kind of on there, I think, and we kind of direct them, but you know, students, you know, they're just kind of acting intuitively like this is all I should have to do, but I don't know. Do I go? Am I a guest? What am I? You know,
why is it so hard?
Right. So I don't know if we could kind of number one on figuring out how to better communicate, like how students get connected, you know, especially new students, and then and if they need help. They have been coming to us, and our dentist has been wonderful, kind of serving kind of as the buffer. But clearly, we need someone on our campus where students can go to get that kind of technical help.
Absolutely. So can I ask a follow-up question? So on the having a hard time getting connected, is it, and maybe all of these things, right? Is it there's no signal? Is it there are like 4 networks to choose from and I don't know which one and I am not sure first time, kind of what my credentials are, what,
I think
what
it
do you
was a
see?
combination, which I
Well,
could probably.
And I've been meaning to write you about some of this.
Dennis and I communicate a lot about this stuff, right?
Mostly it's about not knowing how, it's finding the instructions, but even when they're complete. One thing I wanted to suggest is, I don't know if ETS has a person like this right now. So maybe reaching out to say the DA's Office of Communications or the Foothill equivalent. But especially the ones on the ETS website at least. A lot of the instructions are not user friendly. I mean, some of the
They're long,
information is very
and they're kind of
old now.
Yeah.
And has not been updated, especially since students are now being pointed to some of that information as well. So.
Okay, good feedback. Some of that we know about. So I started in this role just under 2 years ago, so.
Reporting in progress.
Just make sure we get that on the record. And so, yeah, the feedback is really helpful because you're right, there are some, we find old documents and old things, and so.
Maybe like a simple QR code, especially at the beginning, like during the college opening day, we can advertise it here, like where do students go? How do you get connected, like doing this whole campaign? So maybe, and then it would be just kind of bullet. It's not like they have to find it within, 3 paragraphs worth of, instructions. So, yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
And then the other thing that I have a bone to pick with is there's no Wi-Fi out in the parking. So for during our flea market, that has been a consistent issue, and we were working with ETS pre-pandemic, and at that time, they said that they were looking to expand Wi-Fi connectivity out in the parking lots. I hope this isn't the case as much, but we used to have students in between classes. That's where they would go. They would either go take a nap or they just want to, hibernate in their car for a couple more hours. But the fact that you can't get Wi-Fi, the full extent of the college campus, I think is problematic. So I would love to see, for the purposes of our flea market, Wi-Fi extended all the way up to that parking lot.
So I have a lot of questions about Wi-Fi. So let's go there. Because really, I want to understand, and Caitlin knows because we talked about this last week. I really want to understand how you all want to use the outdoor spaces, especially the parking lots and the parking garages. And so I want to make sure we talk about that, and I'll give you an update on where we are, because we are actually working on Wi-Fi coverage, so I can give you some information. But
I'd also just like to add on that the Wi-Fi coverage on campus is like not the best. That if I'm connected to the campus guest network on my phone versus my laptop, if I'm at the multicultural center, I don't get any signal there. So if I'm trying to do any assignments on my phone at a place where I'm actually doing class, then I don't get signal there. And I think that's kind of a bit of a problem. Like I was having problems with my data yesterday, and I was trying to just rely only on Wi-Fi here on campus as I connected with my carrier to figure things out. But I found that that was actually very difficult. That at different points I was like randomly like disconnected and signed out from it when I hadn't changed anything, and then it was like it wouldn't let me sign back in. And yeah, I definitely think it could be streamlined there. The other thing is, yeah, it would be great if there was somewhere that students could go on campus to get help with if their devices are having any technical problems, if they're having problems with the network, or if there's just something wrong with their device at all, and it's like making it difficult for them to complete their schoolwork. It would be great if there was somewhere that students could like very easily go for help for any technical issues.
Okay, that's great feedback. Thank you. So for the Wi-Fi, let me give you a little bit of an update on where we are. We've been actually project started before it came. We're still working on it, but we have 2 phases of Wi-Fi expansion that are happening. The first phase is really outdoor, like basically all the outdoor quad areas and most of the parking areas. And I say most because the second phase of the Wi-Fi expansion are those areas where we actually have to do some level of construction. Maybe we have to do trenching, or we have to erect poles or mount antennas. But your college leadership has been working with us to identify the areas where Wi-Fi coverage is needed. And it's essentially, it's not 100%, but it's very close to corner of campus. So we will have Wi-Fi, fast, reliable Wi-Fi for you all the way out through the parking lots. Right now, it's a little bit more of a patchwork. And unfortunately, it's not like, you know, expanding your home Comcast internet or something, right? Just adding your meter, it's much more difficult because of the engineering, the design, and a lot of bureaucracy that goes into it too, just to be honest with you. So we have started ordering equipment for phase one. I'm expecting that in somewhere between winter and spring, we'll start to see areas beginning to light up more on campus for you. We're doing this at both campuses, so if you happen to be at Foothill as well as here, you'll see that there as well. And because we know, like this day and age, your phone, your computer, that's your connection, right? To not just to us, but to the rest of your life. And so we are working really hard on that. And what I might do actually is, I don't want to take up all your time like at every meeting, but I'd be happy to come back and show you like some maps and a little bit of eye candy around the Wi-Fi, because you don't really see the Wi-Fi except you see those little bars. So totally hear from you. So totally really value your feedback. Question, and this is a kind of a hot topic, and I'm trying to get some answers, so I'm really counting on you guys to help with this. What about the parking garages? Do you expect to have, or would you plan to use a lot of Wi-Fi inside either the Stelling garage or the Flint garage? And we've had some discussion about this and how we think students will want to use it. I see you're going to get right to you, Javier. And you know, one thing we've talked about is sometimes you want it to be like out of the sun. I mean, your car. I take meetings from my car too, right? Like I zoom from the car sometimes. So I totally get what you said earlier about maybe that's just your place you go to hang out for an hour between classes and try to do some. We've talked about maybe being out of the sun, being out of the rain. We also have the solar panel covered parking areas. And I'll just be really honest, the cost of retrofitting the garages, we have to bring the network into the garages. They're fully concrete structures, so it's pretty expensive. I'm trying right now to sort of understand if you have Wi-Fi everywhere else, how critical would that be to you to have in the garage? And because we might be able to do something else instead of, for you instead of that. So how do you?
Yeah, there have been a couple instances where I've had to like take some meetings from the car, but that's mainly on the way to some other meetings, right?
Yeah.
So like, I don't think it's like, it might be like useful for other students to have like long-term, like just to have more accessibility to the Wi-Fi around the campus, but like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's more useful to just have it on the main campus itself, because I don't know how practical it would be to have it in the parking garage, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's I've heard some of that, yeah. I really wanted to kind of validate, you think about how your day, your routine, how you spend your time throughout the quarter. One of the things that came up in our ETAC meeting last week, because I asked the same question, was our district chief of police had some questions about how folks might sort of linger in the garages, or it's kind of it's semi-enclosed, right? So are there any safety issues potentially, or those kinds of things? His question was more about if it was open Wi-Fi, which you'd still have to be a student or an employee and use the existing Wi-Fi with a password. So it's probably less of an issue. I'm just trying to really get a sense, is that something that would be super important to you all or to other students?
Yeah, I think purely from a safety perspective, like parking lots tend to not be very safe. Like Dianza itself is, I would say, moderately safe. I think so. But I have heard from friends and other people that I know who come to campus and park in Flint and Lot 8, I believe, that they would prefer that they could have Wi-Fi in case they don't have like coverage or something happens, and they can maybe like take a phone call using Wi-Fi. So from a safety perspective, I think it is important if we have that access.
In the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And would you expect to have that on, some follow-up question, all of the floors, or maybe like first floor, or like a couple of floors in the garage?
I mean, I would say ideally all of them, but because the higher up you go, like if you're going home late, you have a late class and you parked on the 3rd floor, say, which realistically, I don't think someone would do that just because it's late. But if someone does happen to do that, they should still have the option to have Wi-Fi in case something happens.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I would also say that sometimes students who are on campus for most of the day and maybe live far away use their cars as a space if they need privacy for a meeting, be able to take it in their cars. So I think Wi-Fi could be helpful in that sense.
And do you feel like parking lot versus parking garage?
I think as long as it's clearly delineated where the Wi-Fi is and where it's not, students would adapt.
That's a great point. Good point, because we don't really tell you right now, do we?
Yeah.
You have to sort of like go around, like you were saying, like, wait a minute, there's no Wi-Fi here, where do I go? Yeah, I saw a hand over here too.
You said it could be used for something else, or the money could be used for something else. Are there any planned alternatives that could be used? The money could be allocated?
Well, we always have a lot of needs, so a couple of the other things I wanted to touch on as well. We're looking at ways to address student tech support, for example. So right now, so the folks that report to me, we cover everything from computer desktops, multimedia classrooms. We have a small help desk right now, has one person that staffs it for all of the employees of the district. But we also do, you know, everything in Banner and all the software applications and all of that. So we're really not staffed right now to have like a student, like the center you mentioned, where students could come. I mean, I would love that idea of, you know, it's just sort of like the genius bar come up and, you know, get some help with the technology. So I'm always trying to look at resources and say, okay, we put them here, commit them in this area, like parking structures. That's great if that's really where the biggest need is, but if not, maybe potentially for technical support. We're also talking about printing. And we want to know if you guys are satisfied, dissatisfied. I see a lot of hands going up with printing. I have a lot of thoughts about printing as well, but I want to hear from all of you. So who was first? Yeah, sure.
So, I would just like, I think while, it's good to have Wi-Fi, like for the safety standard, could having Wi-Fi in the garage make them less safe? If there were more people, because it is a semi-enclosed structure, as it is now, people mostly go to the garages to park, to leave, to get their car, to leave. But if there's Wi-Fi in there, then there might be people in there like all the time, like it could just be like it is, it's kind of enclosed, a lot of the time it's dark, and historically our garages have not always been the safest, so it's like having, would it really be the best idea to encourage people to be staying in those garages for a longer time, to be encouraging more students to be in those garages for a longer time?
That was really kind of the question that the chief was asking too, you know, encouraging us to think about that. Because the use of the garage can change a little bit if the Wi-Fi was a little bit of a magnet, right? Versus just parking and coming in. I don't know about you, I still get a little creeped out of the parking garages personally. They're great, but I don't think I would want to personally stay in there for too long. Jennifer, we'll start with you and then. Steve.
Yes, on the parking garage.
Yeah.
Last year I stayed very late at night, and I think that I find it a lot more comforting when there are more cars in the garages, rather than like one or two cars in the second or third floor. And I know that some women just prefer to like not park at all in the second or third floor to avoid that at night. And it's because like they can't rely on calling other people while they're walking up there, so I really do think that Wi-Fi in all of the garages, like, and in all of the floors would be a really good idea for safety.
Okay, that's good twist on that. I appreciate that. Anything else on Wi-Fi? Because I know, yes, please.
I was just gonna suggest, like, in response to what Adrian was saying about like the safety issue, why not have like A designated Wi-Fi spots and then B designated Wi-Fi times? So specific days, specific times.
That's an interesting.
I mean, from a safety perspective, just to respond to what you said, it might be a bit more confusing, but it might just be more strategic. To mitigate like how many people would actually be in the garage.
We're gonna get to printing, I promise you guys.
Something to also keep in mind with safety is that we should definitely advertise this more as a student government, but I believe the security on campus has a system where they will actually escort people to their car. That's right. So it's like really nice.
I just wanna, also wanna add that if we do add more Wi-Fi to the parking garage, I don't think that equals a lot of students just staying in their car and go on Wi-Fi, because it's an added benefit. I feel like there's still gonna be students who are gonna be on campus utilizing the Wi-Fi here, but branching out, I think there's like, I don't think there's like a downside to it, at least in my opinion. I think it's just a nice benefit to have. I don't see a lot of students relying on that parking garage.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just adding on to what Richie was saying, like, I think that like having the Wi-Fi in the parking garage, it would be a benefit, like it would be awesome to have it, but it's not necessarily something urgent that we need. Like, maybe like if we don't need to do it now, maybe we can do it in the future.
Something you would be considering as well, yeah.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about Wi-Fi, I feel like we should focus if possible first on like on-campus Wi-Fi, because already that's so, like sometimes it's not really good and it's
Yeah.
spotty.
Yeah.
And like, I think majority of students, if they're studying, they would be like probably somewhere on campus, like as their main like studying areas. I feel like it would be better to focus on the areas actually like mainly on campus and then work on like, once the Wi-Fi is good here, like then we can think about adding it to the parking garages and stuff like that.
Well, and we might learn more too about how, where you all migrate to, right? If there's, in terms of, if there's more coverage on campus, right, you don't have to go find the spots where it's stronger, it's kind of everywhere, and then, that might help inform what we do with the garages.
Sorry, if I could ask you one thing, I think that if safety is a really big concern for parking garages, maybe we could like somehow work with carriers to see if we could improve connection that way, cellular connection, but like in the case of emergency, I don't think someone's gonna connect to Wi-Fi and then call 911 versus then just use their data or just use the phone there. Then maybe work with carriers.
That's actually one reason we were thinking about maybe not putting it on the top floors of the garages, because you generally should be able to get cellular signal in there and have like a couple other floor switches. Yeah, great. Did you have a comment as well? Okay. All right, let's pivot to printing and just give you a time check when we move to go on, because I don't want to.
I think we can extend the time if there's like a motion, maybe it's 10 to 15 minutes of.
Yeah, another 10 minutes or something.
A second.
Anyway.
Cool.
I would to extend the conversation by another 10 minutes.
A second.
Moved by Umay, seconded by Javier. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, the time is extended to 10.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, printing. I saw some hands go up. We'll start here. Well, can I start here and work this way? Is that okay? Works with my brain. Yes.
Yeah, so I just, I had actually a situation the other week where I was trying to print something in the library and the person in front of me was like, do you know how this works? And we like went to that computer, we went to the one in the computer room, and we had to go all the way to the campus center, and that one is really, really slow. So we were there for like 15 minutes. So I just think it's something we can really work on and like maybe add more printers, newer printers that like are faster and like the swiping thing too, so we don't have to like type in our code every time. Maybe add one in the MLC building, another building in the technology center, because it's just like it's more accessible, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had that experience. Justin actually manages our student printing, so I'm gonna turn over here to him. He's taking really good notes. And a couple of questions we've had. Are there enough locations? And does the setup work for you? Right, so that's really good feedback. Yes.
So I'm just gonna mention 3 things. The first thing is the cost of printing. So that's an issue that has come up that I've heard feedback from my classmates. Like they said that they mentioned to me that like pre-COVID, it was more affordable and in most cases free to print on campus. And now it's like there's an amount that they have to pay and they weren't too satisfied with that. They weren't too happy about that because if you're rushing to class and if if you're a low income student, then, you don't want to have to like pay so much to, I guess, get your materials or class materials printed because everything is expensive enough.
Yeah.
And the second issue was what Ariana was just talking about how it's the process of getting to actually printing what you want to print is really like complex. It's a little difficult to figure out. Like it took me 2 or 3 times to actually do it and then figure it out. And I didn't really get the most assistance or the most help doing it, especially in the library. And the third thing is locations. So I think they're a little hard to find.
the kiosks specifically. Like, if I was just walking around campus personally, I don't think I would be able to like navigate or find them.
Good feedback. And by the way, I did that. I came here one day, I was like, I'm gonna find all the printers, and it was, they were not as easy to find as invitation. Great feedback. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, so I wanna focus on the cost and the mainly like the piece of use, because it's really, really hard to use.
Okay.
First of all, like you have to log into ePrint, right? And that's a specific FHDA domain. You have to upload, you have to either upload your documents or you have USB that no one really uses anymore, right? So that's the problem. And I think like a lot of people are trying to use their phones and they're trying to like, is it like a way in like airdropping it or something? But that just didn't work. So a lot of people just had trouble printing. Like every time I go to the printing place, like to the library, and if there's someone there, they're always trying to figure it out. And it just didn't work for them in a way. So that's kind of the issue, just like the complexity, especially like they don't know, oh, you have to log into your student ID and your password and everything. And I think is there a way to simplify it in a way?
That's what we're hoping for. So I brought this up because we've been talking about it, right? Saying like, there's gotta be a better solution. But I really wanted to hear from you guys, right, what those friction points are. And the cost is part of it too, you know, so we have a contract that we entered into. And essentially, you know, without going into too much detail, we pay for a certain number of pages per year, which is kind of spread across all the printers. And we don't necessarily see, we don't hit that limit. So what I'm really trying to look at is, you know, if we're paying more for printing and the experience is not good for you guys, you know, is there a way we can simplify it? And my goal would be to just make it free, right? If we can make up with the savings on what we're paying on the contract, or maybe an allotment of pages, you know, it gets a certain number of pages free and then you pay after that or something. But printing is remarkably more complicated than you would think it is, because of all the systems that it has to.
And the other thing is like, because like if I want to pay to internet, the minimum charge is like $3, right? So that's another thing, and you can't use like a card swipe. I don't think that works. It's only for the DASG. So that's another complaint, and I feel like a lot of people just don't print on campus because it's just way too annoying.
It's just annoying.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really good feedback. Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, like what Isaac said, definitely the user interface gets a lot of help on that. Second thing is also, I actually tried printing on campus once and I actually got kind of mad because this is sort of my keyword class, like last fall quarter, after I like did everything, the quality of like the printing was pretty bad. Because like when I think I printed 3 pages and like all the text was just all over the place.
And you're like, I paid for this.
Yeah, I paid for this. And like I got kind of like annoyed by that. So I guess like one other thing, I don't know if currently there's quality checks that happen across campus, but I would also encourage that. So like more people would be able to use it because like the person after me like got furious too. And like it was pretty like funny, but it was kind of so that's just
okay, yeah, good to know. And that's supposed to handle that quality check first, but we'll make sure we follow. I see Dennis's hand and I want to make sure to get to Jason as well.
I just wanted to ask, a couple of students mentioned this. So you're saying that swiping your student ID card is not what currently logging you into ePrint?
It's no, I'm talking about just like a lot of people want to like swipe their like card, like debit card,
like a payment card.
Right.
And even the student swipe doesn't really work sometimes. That's swiped multiple times.
I know that swiping the ID card is supposed to be able to make it quicker to log in, but I don't know if it's working or not. And then I don't know about the credit card. I thought that was supposed to work, but I'm not positive.
And you all, do you typically have your student ID card with you? Like if we had to just like swipe your card, that would work.
I mean, we do, but I feel like most of those have like DASG cards, right? But I feel like a lot of students they don't really get their passes with their cards. And second of all, I always, whenever I walk past the library, there's always like one person just like getting really mad at the printer.
You put a little camera by the printer and like.
Is there a reason that we have to require them to swipe their DASG card? Is it just to, like, limit outside use? Or is it just?
It's really, yeah, I mean, it really is just to authenticate into the printer, really is.
Yes, well, it's not required, because you can also type in your ID number and password, it's just quicker to use your keyboard.
So yeah, that's what I was asking, if there's a point of view putting an ID, is there like just a limit outside use? Cause I mean. Like.
You're paying anyway.
Yeah, exactly, you're paying anyway, so I don't see the point
That's a good point.
of having a barrier, because some people might not even know their ID.
I don't know if you can pay. I don't think guest access is currently working, because I've recently been in communication with the internet about some issues.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can pay if you don't have it.
We're gonna solve this. We're gonna work with you guys and solve this. Jason,
Yes, so just to make things clear, that machine for printing, the swipe was for student ID card.
yeah,
I think a lot of students don't know that because from my experience and others, I saw a lot of people trying to swipe their credit cards there.
Maybe we should put like little like printed out, like just the instructions on how to use it, like that would work too.
Or maybe it might just be easier instead of doing the credit system that's currently in place to just replace the card reader with like with credit cards or Apple Pay.
right.
So we don't need to fill in the rest, so that whole barrier doesn't exist, we can still type it in and just go.
Just have to pay or
Yeah,
something.
that figure.
Good comments on printing, lots of good stuff.
Yeah, so I found that the card swipe is kind of funky sometimes and does not work the first time, most of the time. So actually for me, it's faster to just type in my student ID and password than try and like struggle with the swiper. Yeah, and the other thing is with the payment, it really would be great if we could get like a card swipe or a coin slot or something to just make it more streamlined.
Yeah.
And also, like I've used printing on campus fairly regularly. I did it a lot for my math class and like the price like racked up throughout the quarter with the amount of things that I had to print out. It ended up being pretty expensive. Yeah, and the website, like when I was trying to print again this quarter, I was like, oh, I don't remember what the website is. So I was trying to figure out where it was. And I ended up having to go into the computer lab to look on, see it written on the board at the exact, because I couldn't even just Google like GM the printing or something like that and have the website come up, because you have to put in the exact specific thing, and it just doesn't show up easily if you Google it and you don't already know the exact web address. So it's like I really did have to go right into the computer lab to see it written on the whiteboard to even have access to it. Yeah, and it's a pain to add head money
Yeah.
to those printed accounts.
This is great, and totally hear you all. We want you to have a smooth, easy, and reduce these friction points, these barriers. So we're gonna take this back. What I'd like to do, is come back to a future meeting and just kind of share with you what we're doing with your feedback, so that you know, we're not just coming in this and just going away. You know, again, probably have some other topics. We'll also be working with the tech committee. I'm not sure exactly what our timing is for the next student survey on tech, but we definitely want, 2020 was a long time ago. So we definitely want to get more feedback from the whole student body in general. And I really welcome you, as I hold some forums on campus, you're welcome to come and reach out and share the information. So that hopefully help get some students there too, as well as some other students.
And I guess a kind of a final point, I think the consistent theme to all this is that there's a lack of support. So if they're in the library, they can't figure it out. Nobody in the library knows what to do with it. It's very frustrating, I think, for our students. So if we really emphasize the customer support end of all of this, like where can students go for support, and not just go to a website or, go read the instructions, but actually have someone on the other end who can pick up the phone and they can get their money back, or, figure out how to, support them, tell them where the nearest e-print is. I don't know if you're looking at going with a different company, but it sounds like the whole swiping thing is very problematic. But maybe even training some folks on campus, right? So that, you can strategically place them in certain places and say, go to this office, and they can maybe have someone there to assist you. So as opposed to just leaving, for students to kind of, have to fend for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, actually, I have another additional.
Sure.
So I don't know if this is completely related to you, but I know that like, for say, like, for the EV charging station at the end, it's like a bit more expensive than like other EV charging stations like around the area. Is there like a reason?
That is a good question. So I do not oversee the EV charging stations, but I know the people who do, so I don't take that question back.
Sure.
And
That's
just,
facility.
yeah, it is facilities, but I'll go with that. Yeah. All right, I think my time's up. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. And again, if you have something you want to follow up with, you know, I'll share you've got my information, I think. Feel free to send me emails, see you at the future meeting.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Maybe you can come back the first of winter quarter, maybe you'll have some updates.
That would be
then.
great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I move this business item to the end?
Yeah.
So what motion? do I need?
I don't think you need to mention just
Does anyone have any objections to moving this on?
I'll be moving this second business item to the end, so, because I don't know if we'll have enough time to cover everything. So are there any objections to moving number 2 to after 4? Seeing no objections, we'll be starting with business item 3, which is the 2022 to 2024 DASG budget guiding principles. This item is to discuss and approve the DASG budget guiding principles for 2024 to 2025. Is that what you?
Should we go up there? or-
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey guys, so this is the 2024-2025 DASG budget guiding principles. So the guiding principles are basically kind of like what we look at when we're like, it's kind of our rationale as to what we are gonna decide to fund for the 2024-2025 academic year. So going into budget deliberations this year, this is kind of our guide, I guess, as to how we're gonna decide what to fund, what not to fund, what to prioritize. So yeah, I don't think there's any big changes from last year. We just changed it from 2023, 2024 to 2024, 2025, just to hit the new academic year. But in terms of wording, I think I believe we made changes last year, but this is kind of it. So we didn't really make any changes this time around when we approved it in finance.
Are there any questions or comments
Yeah.
for this, or else we can move on to approve it?
Approved 2024 to 2025 DASG guiding principles.
Moved by Isaac, seconded by Adrian. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we'll be moving on to the next business item, which is the 100,000 to special allocations.
Okay, wait, before I talk about this, I just wanted to confirm Dennis. So for this item, when I make because I remember when I did the motion for the motions in finance, it was kind of like I had to do 2 motions. One for moving it from unrestricted to unrestricted, and then from there to special allocations. Would the process be the same again for this time in the Senate?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I guess it went quickly. Was the budget guiding principles approved?
Yes.
Oh, okay, like that, all right. Yeah, it will be the same kind of thing. I think I updated the business item. Or was it business item 4? Yeah, I updated the item so that it's a little clear.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's got 2 parts. So this item is to discuss possibly approved, decreasing restricted, and moving it to unrestricted. And then I added, if approved, then discuss and possibly approve, increasing Fund 41 special allocation up to 100,000. So yes, it would take 2 motions.
Okay. Thanks, Dennis. So yeah, this is kind of the thing that we've been talking about for a bit. The possibility of increasing our special allocations. So our special allocations right now, I believe it has $6,000 after we approved HOCO's $10,000 request. So yeah, so first of all, I guess we're gonna discuss kind of like, all right, we have the option to move 100,000. Yay or nay, kind of, I don't know if there's gonna be discussion about it, we already kind of discussed it in finance. And then if there's kind of, we're done with that discussion, we can kind of move on to the process and the motion and how that's gonna work. So, yeah, should we start discussion now or should I motion to discuss or because anyone?
Just, are there any questions for this?
Yeah, any questions?
If not, I think we can make a motion. So the first motion is to,
Yeah, so the first motion would be basically to decrease this fund. So you'd have to say all of this, I guess, by $100,000. And then you moving it to increase unrestricted fund amount, like this one here. So that would be the first step.
Yeah, so basically you would say, I move to approve. And then approve decrease restricted fund balance all the way up to. Prior year funding from other sources, so that would be the whole sentence, so I move to approve and then. Everything there until sources.
So there you go.
does anyone want to make a motion? Adrian?
I move to decrease the restricted fund balance account number 41 dash. What is that? 32300-0000. Surplus reserved for next year's budget by $100,000 and to move it to increase our unrestricted fund balance account number 41-31250-0000 prior year funding from other sources.
Ariana. Moved by Adrian, seconded by Ariana. Are there any objections? Okay. Moving on to the next part. Are there any questions for approving for this motion?
I need to approve, the fund for the second line,
Second. Moved by Isaac, seconded by Athia. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, it is approved.
So wait, Dennis, is it official? We have $100,000 now in special allocation.
106,000, but there's still, yes, one student account gets the minutes and such, yes, you will, but. Don't go celebrating too much because there's a lot of increases. Because of cost of living adjustments and all kinds of other things coming. So,
Well,
I mean, it's not gonna use it all up.
Yeah.
We'll still have some left,
but that is a problem for another day, guys. We have $106,000 in special allocation.
Okay, so for our last business item, this will be the second one, which is the class modality discussion. I just want to give like a very brief overview of what we discussed in executive advisory last week. So in Isaac and my meeting with President Holmes last week, we did bring this up with him about hearing some certain student feedback about the amount of in-person classes versus online offerings. And I will be meeting with Christina, who is the Vice President of Instruction, tomorrow for this data. But I just wanted to give everyone a short overview of what we'll be looking for. So as part of executive advisory, we decided that this is sort of something we are interested in pursuing. So I just wanted to quickly ask everyone in Senate about if you have any questions for this topic. And specifically, if you have any questions for me to bring up with Christina tomorrow. So just to give the data that we received from President Lloyd a week ago, we asked about the amount of in-person. This includes hybrid versus online, which is fully online classes. And it's about 50-50. There are more sections open in person, but there's actually there's less headcount for in person. So we were looking into potentially increasing this. And basically for tomorrow, I'll be meeting with Christina to go more in depth into the data, which we will probably be able to discuss next Senate meeting as well. But I just wanted to make sure that like we're all on the same page about this, that this is something that we probably would want to proceed on. So are there any questions or objections? Maybe.
So are you saying the plan is to push more for in-person or push more for online? Or to push for keeping them roughly equal?
Yeah, so as I said at the beginning, we brought this topic up because we have heard like some students saying that they can't find in-person options. I think that's something that did come up was for international students having like the requirements for a certain number of in-person classes, there are some difficulties. And even in general, there's like students are concerned that 50-50 isn't really enough, especially since before it was about 19%. And I think everyone agrees that we need more online classes than 19%, like coming into the next academic year. But this is specifically in terms of increasing in-person classes, maybe like 60%, 40%, or something along those lines. Adrian?
So I would just like to comment from like a lot of our student population does work, have busy schedules, or maybe parents. And in-person classes might be more of a challenge for those kinds of students. I know when I was registering for this quarter, I was trying to find as many online classes as I possibly could. And I struggled for that. And, you know, I am here in person, which is fine and all, but it would have been nice if I could have gotten more online classes. I know that for other students who do work, who have tight schedules and are still trying to be students at the same time, having the online option is a game changer. Like, if we try and push for mostly in person, then we're excluding a large part of our student population, especially this is a community college. It's supposed to be where students who might come out of high school and then not been able to go to college right away, or have different kind of living situations, that we're supposed to be here open and accessible for them. And if we're pushing for mostly in person and cutting online, then that could be difficult. It could make it harder for those kinds of students. So that is something that I really think that we should be aware of.
Yeah, that's a great comment. That definitely came up a lot in executive advisory. So I wanted to like make it really clear, which I didn't really in the beginning, that we're not looking to like cut online by a lot. I mentioned before that we have about 19% in online last year. And I think administration, faculty, and students realize that's not enough for online classes. It's just that having 50-50, that some students believe that's not in-person classes. So what I'm looking for and what I'm hoping to talk with Christina about tomorrow is just like a very slight increase of in-person classes based on what students want. So we're able to address, like you mentioned, working students and non-traditional students who might not be able to come on campus, but also address like concerns that students who do want to come in person might have. Chris?
If there will be more in-person classes, would there be an issue of finding faculty members? Because I know that there's a lot of faculty, like professors, that prefer more like asynchronous online classes. So would that be an issue too, finding more professors to do in-person classes?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I'll have to talk with Christina. I'll put that down as something I'll ask her, but it's mostly just like I'm trying to figure out what sort of students want, because I think we should be more focused on what students want so we can tell the administration and the faculty that they want this, instead of thinking like if they're available to do this. Does that make sense? Okay.
Have we done some work or like laid some groundwork to find out what students want so far, like with regards to online classes and in-person classes? Like, do we understand the student need right now, like at this time? Or like, is that something that you're gonna be working on after you speak to your students?
Yeah, so that's a great point. I think I might reach out to Mallory, who is sort of in charge of like the college data and like polling for that. But just in terms of like Senate and what you all have heard, I just wanted to sort of like get all of your opinions before we work more towards like serving student opinion on this.
I just wanted to add on to what Ume said, about like maybe just focusing on like certain departments, because I know a lot of people like to learn, math in person or maybe labs in person, science labs like that, so maybe just like focus down on that. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Just as a follow-up comment, real quick, I think it's really important to understand our student population, like really get the numbers and get the hard data. Because we can speculate like here, all we want, but I don't think we're gonna be able to accurately represent the entire student population, honestly. Like as Adrian said, and I agree with Adrian, there's a lot of students who work full-time, part-time, up to 20 hours a week. We have students for caretakers, and from my personal like experience with like many students, what I've heard is that students in those circumstances specifically prefer online or asynchronous, and it just works better for them. So maybe it would just be wiser to assess and get the numbers and the data, and then maybe proceed forward.
Yeah, so I remember during exec advisory, we kind of, by the end, we said that we came to a point where everyone said that we needed more data anyway. To figure out like what the students actually want, so is there like an update from that time to now, because that was a week ago or no?
Yeah, so that's what I'll be talking with Christina about tomorrow, but is there any other questions that you wanted me to bring up with her tomorrow?
Wait, are we like, so did you talk to Christina about like the student survey for course modality in 2022? Did you guys like talk about that data?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, like what survey?
Yeah, Erin found it and pulled it up.
Oh,
So for 2022, there's actually an enrollment day survey that shows it's pretty split 50-50. For preference of on-campus only versus like some classes online, hybrid classes or online only. When you like compare 50-50, when you compare on-campus only to the other three options, it is like 52% want on-campus only, and then the other 48% want are split between the other three categories of online.
Links in the Senate chat.
thank you. I can definitely bring that up with her. And yeah, I just wanted to emphasize like one more time, we don't want to cut a lot of online classes. Like, I just think 50-50, even compared to other community colleges, we're really not offering a lot of in-person classes. So just like hearing what a lot of students are saying, that they do want in-person classes, is something we need to hear from both sides. Like, there's feedback coming that we do need more online classes, but at the same time, there's another side that's saying we do need more in-person classes.
So like, I don't know about like all the majors, but if you're in like a STEM major, you have like, you can go online right now and you find a lot of in-person open classes. And the main reason they're open is because the professors are plan. So like, I don't know how that would affect STEM classes, but opening more classes with the same professors that have like really low ratings is not going to draw people to like sign up for them. And that's, yeah, I just think that would negatively affect at least those specific students. In terms of like other classes like period and like other broader classes, that might be beneficial, but it should be done on like specific like I guess village category, like specific types of classes that are being made in this.
So when you're talking about like online classes, are you referring to purely asynchronous?
Yeah.
Or are you referring to the hybrid modality?
Oh, for online, that means fully online, synchronous or asynchronous. In person is hybrid and.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Adrian?
So some students who do have like in-person classes are like not going to their in-person classes because like they either have scheduling conflicts or because sometimes the lectures are already recorded, like for those in-person classes. So what's the point of them going to a class if it's already recorded, and then you can do it on your own time and your own schedule and learn at your own on your own schedule, you know?
Yeah,
And like, it could be easier for the professors as well, because if they've already recorded, like a lot of professors already have recorded stuff because of the pandemic, then they can post it on there and then just have to worry about writing and spend their time in better ways. I think that there's a lot of potential for flexibility, with online classes and asynchronous classes, both for students and for professors, and that it shouldn't be overlooked.
yeah, I definitely agree. But I think like there are a lot of benefits to online and hybrid options, as we've mentioned. But I don't think we can like discredit what a lot of students have been saying, like about the benefits of in-person learning, because I don't think like with that argument, we could like push for more online classes. But there are a lot of students who I've heard saying, yeah, that doesn't really work for me. I just can't process things online, or I don't want to watch a recorded lecture and stay at home all day. Ria?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I've talked to a lot of students that came on campus this quarter and this is like their first quarter in person. I've seen a lot of students say that online learning was a bit difficult for them because also a lot of professors that do teach online are not very responsive. I've had professors that like they just post the entire material at the beginning of the quarter and then it's very hard to reach out. And so a lot of students like having in-person classes. But also, I've talked to a lot of students, and when having in-person classes, they're able to like meet other students, and it helps with like the campus life, which is something that they really want on campus as well. So from students, I've heard that on campus, like classes help them learn a lot more, and they wish that they would. So I think like there are benefits to online, but I think both options are just as valid. So we work on having options even on them.
Bridgie.
I'd like to add on to what Erin said. I think that one of the things that needs to be addressed is definitely when we obviously as senators, we get priority registration, so we see a lot of the class schedules close up. But when I look at like a lot of major specific classes and classes like that, especially towards the end of the drop/add period, I see a lot of empty classes, especially for teachers who might not have the best reputation on Rate My Professor, right? So I think that I would say, let's go more specific, because I feel like a lot of discussion we're having right now is for like a very broad topic about let's have more in-person classes or let's have more online classes. I think we should address each specific department or each specific course and see past trends of like enrollment. Look at, oh, how many classes were not filled up completely? Only 3 out of the 51 seats were actually filled in. So maybe have a more of a holistic view in that sense, instead of just saying, oh, let's just have more in-person.
And to add on to what Renchi said, as part of the point, which is a lot of like may just have like lab requirements and stuff. So, and on top of that, the like the international student in-person credit requirement. So like if you could ask what Christina said, just Christina, so like if you could like work on trying to get out more surveys that are like more specific to departments and majors, and then like based off the data.
Matthew?
I wanted to echo what Ruchi and Erin said. I think it also may be of value to more specifically survey students, also asking how many students ended up signing for up for online classes because they weren't able to find in-person classes and vice versa. Because they would be the students probably most impacted by modality.
So,
I move to end discussion.
yeah, is there a second? I said so. Moved by Joel, seconded by Asia. Are there any objections? Okay. So, okay, just to sort of summarize what I'll be asking, I think it's by department, the polling that you mentioned going on, and also surveys. Is there anything else to add, just to make sure?
Just maybe analyze past trends, past like scheduling stuff of like how, like for like classes and stuff, like if you see like certain classes have a lot of online presence versus in person, just take that into account like that as well. That's it.
Chris?
I was gonna say, is there any way to like see if there's more demand for in-person classes? For certain subjects, because I know specifically for math, there's more students that want in person, same with English as well. So I don't know if there's any way we can like
record that as well.
Okay, seeing no other comments, we'll be moving on to public comments. Are there any public comments? Moving on to advisor announcement.
Yes, I don't know if it was said earlier about homecoming, but we are moving very fast and I see, I don't know if you made any comment. Well, you were in the meeting with me, so please, I know we said this last time, mark your calendars, Friday, November 17th and Saturday, November 18th. Actually, Joel, I know you gave a bit of a update. But we are making this happen and we need everybody to show up. Isia will be working with her committee to ensure that, decorations, marketing, will be reaching out to all the kids. We'll be talking to you. Dana from ICC will be contacting you soon about that. So we just need everybody on board. This is happening like 1 month from now. It is the 18th. So it's really 1 month to plan this. So I hope that you can all get behind this and start spreading the word. We're going to have the save the date stuff going out very, very shortly. We're having a meeting with facilities, campus police this Friday morning. So we are trying to get everything together so we can make this happen.
I was just wondering, for people that are really excited, are you guys gonna make a Google form to sign up? Because I remember you said there's some logistics.
Yeah, we're still working out some of the details, but I think one of the things that we decided today was it is going to be free for all DSAG cardholders. So this is one way we can say, if you want to go, you got to make sure you have your card. And we're going to actually create tickets because we can't have 3,000 people show up. I don't think we're good, but we're targeting 300. So we already looked at the space, or we're going to be doing the tailgating Saturday. We're going to be calling vendors for food. So we're really excited about this. Dana's also working on promotional items. So if any of you are like, I wish they would give this away, contact her because she's going to be putting together the price list. But I will be updating you all as appropriate, but I think that's it. So.
Are there any advisor announcements? Oh,
I have a question. Can I ask? Okay. I have, yeah. Is the DSG card different than the ID card, or is it the same thing?
It's the same thing.
Oh, yeah. All right.
The ID.
They were confused about that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, over the years, they've used the terms BTA and Clipper Pass. It's all, that's the same too. It just, the pass, or the card itself is called a Clipper card, but it's the BTA pass, basically.
Yeah, the BTA Smart Pass.
Yes.
Is stored on a Clipper.
Yeah, so the name of the card is called a Clipper card. That's why you'll hear Clipper card, what the heck is that? It's just the name of the card. Instead of calling it a card, we call it the Clipper card. The VTA passes on the Clipper card, and then the photo ID is our DASG card. Okay, so we're gonna try to this year work on marketing why they should get the card, right? So this is one of the benefits. So it is free to students for both the Saturday and the Sunday events.
Moving to advisors online, Maritza or Dana, would you have any advisor announcements? Maritza, would you have any?
It's just something so much. I am running with. I would soon.
Okay, moving on to Senate announcements. Student trustee announcements? Introduction and approval of prospective senators. If you're interested in running for a diversity seat, we can record your name and meeting. Okay, I adjourned this meeting at 5:33 PM.
Oh, right.
Where'd you get
I know, I know.